Welcome back, everybody. It's Creative Redundancy back again, the one known as CR. Quick mic check. Give me a thumbs up, all that good stuff. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and check out my other content, including this live stream, where not only am I going to reconnect with you, the people out there, probably share a few things or stories along the way, but I'm going to be talking about creating as a whole in this stream. That's the main topic, the main focus, the main focal point of this stream. I got the daydreaming background music playing so I can make sure my headset's connected and all that good stuff. I got some video playing in the background while I'm doing this at the same time. While I wait for some people to join me here. But clearly I did not put that much notification out for this stream, which is all good, because I know people will join me eventually in time. Well, I'll wait for some people to join me here. You know, I was really, when I was thinking, I wanted to do a stream today, I was almost thinking of actually shooting video instead. I was actually considering on shooting a resource hall type of video and creating that, but I decided to come online because I wanted to, and I was thinking of a topic. I'm like, you know what, let's talk about creating. I mean, obviously I do it here on this channel. I mean, come on, I got like the word in the title as a channel name, the CR in it. It's a reoccurring thing that I like to cover a lot. Sometimes I don't cover it enough, it feels like. You know, even some of my earlier videos back in the beginning of the history of the channel were about creating. I've done other live streams about creating, but it's been a while since I've done one. So it's done come back like it was always meant to be. Hello, Vanessa Kitty. I see you in there. Hi, Vanessa. I know, Vanessa Kitty, you like creating too. I've seen and heard the stories that you talked about creating stuff. You know, I still remember that stool. I understood that. Never mind. That was probably like the worst pun ever, right? But sometimes even creating a joke or creating some laughter that everyone can smile is a form of creating. There's many forms of creating out there. So many different types of creating. There's a lot of different niches or genres, however you want to quote unquote label it, that do creating. Not just as content creators, but what they do even before they start rolling the footage, before they start recording the footage or rolling the live stream that they do, right? They're creating something. For the most part, and I say for the most part, most of us create something. Day to day, every minute, you know. It could be as more simplistic as cooking. Cooking is a form of creating. The cooking channels out there are creating something. They're creating food. And yes, I just made everyone hungry. And now I'm gonna create food because I just mentioned that. But the gardeners out there, the / homesteaders, all this, the gardening community as a overall niche, right? Right? They're creating, well, food for the most part, but also habitat. For example, flowers. For example, like sunflowers for the pollinators, right? They're creating a place for these pollinators to come in. I mean, look at some of the bushcrafting community out there. Honestly, they're crafting something. That's got CRA. They're creating something. You know, honestly, they're practicing skills and all that stuff, but they're creating something, right? And some of them actually cook too, so I guess that's also a form of creating too. And all that good stuff. And we'll look at the arts and crafts type of community. I've seen some of their content out there, right? I mean, some of them are crafting something with reused items, making something, I don't know, some sort of like lamp or something like that. I mean, look at the people out there, the folks out there that are like sewing, mending, that kind of clothing, fabric type of creation, crafting type of thing, all right? And it's also a form of creating too. From, maybe making a quilt, that's a form of creating. I've actually done one before, but that was a long time ago, back when I was still attending school. Because we had to do that for a sewing class. I still remember that. I wish I still had that though. I really wish I still had that. And if I do, I don't know where it is. I wish I still had it though. It was yellow with stripes on it. I still remember that. That was probably, of all the sewing projects I've done, overall, that's probably one of the bigger projects I've done. I remember that probably took like how many classes? I think that took like 3 weeks overall in sewing classes. Overall, I think we only had sewing class like every 2 or 3 times a week at most. Every other time was like cooking classes and stuff like that. But those two right there are a form of creating, right? And creating isn't just, I mean, I've shown creating in terms of technical devices, like editing and stuff like that. Also, that's a form of creating, right? Because you're bringing in footage, B-roll, audio, graphics, all that stuff, a script with a CR in it together to create this metaphoric story that has like an intro, a body, and an outro, catchphrases, and all that stuff. So, hi Molly. Yes, leatherwork and woodworking too. Yes, those also, Vanessa. Hello, Molly. Cassandra's best catch. How are you doing? You know, like I said, there's so many different forms of creating out there, right? I've seen many, many, many different types of creation/creating type videos out there. I tend to gravitate to it. Honestly, I'm like, ooh, what are you making? Oh, what's this, right? Especially if it piques my interest, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch it because I'm like, and especially if I can relate to it to a certain degree. Maybe I've done something similar or have an idea about making something similar. I'm like, ooh, what's this, right? And perhaps mimic the idea to a certain degree, right? But creating is one of these things. If you really deep down think about it, it's been with us for an extremely long period of time. From the Stone Age to the Iron Age, medieval times, to also present time, including today, and probably in the future too. From the stone tools that someone created, flint knapping, right? To someone coming up with the idea of, putting metal plates on a body, right? To make a suit of armor, right? That is a form of creating, right? To, the meals or recipes that people came up with over time with the availability of food, right? To creating a garden, right? Not just, foraging for food, but growing it too, right? And all that stuff is a form of creating. What's up, BK? Permaculture in the house. How are you guys doing? Hopefully my volume is good. Welcome everyone. Welcome. That's how we would say welcome. Right? Like I know many of you, if not all of you right now, for however long or whatever. I know you guys create too. You know, I know how you're creating what? Pathway soil, right? Layering it down and putting it down, right? And obviously Mother Nature and the microbes, the organisms, the insects, the bugs are helping you too create it, but you're creating something, right? And in this example, it's creating something better starting today, right? You're creating something for the future in terms of soil, I guess, right? You know, for something to grow in that spot later on. Whatever said plants, you know, ABC plant, whatever it is, tree plant, shrub, bush, flower, etc., you know, that's a form of creating. You know, it's not just, you know, this kind of, how do I say, the traditional content creator, putting out a video and all that stuff, right? And, you know, there's these things behind the scenes too that people create. And maybe not necessarily always show in video or show in a live stream or even explain or talk about, you know, some of these other things. And speaking of creating, maybe I should create some coffee. I'm running low. So, yes. You're moving more leaves this afternoon, Holly? Okay, yeah. Home for the microbes, yeah. Yes, hashtag pathway soil bank, yeah. So yeah, all those are a form of creating, right? I mean, to me, creating helps in so many ways. In my opinion, in my opinion about it. I mean, let's go for example here. I mean, I'm not bringing the term cabin fever, but let's just look at even a couple of years ago, right? 2020, we all know what happened, blah, 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 Big B, blah, 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 there's a Sierra in there, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You know, one of the ways that people kind of dealt with the situation, I mean, there was other ways that they dealt with the situation too, and, you know, staying at home, shelter in place, all this sort of stuff. One of the things that people started to do was create something, right? You know, they can go out, whatever, go to the gym, socialize, whatever, right? But they start to create something. You know, they start to sew, cook, you know, these forms of creating something, right? You know, they kind of, quote unquote, pass by the time, right? Because the thing about creating is that it exercises your mind, not just the body in terms of, you know, doing stuff like sewing or cooking or to feed your stomach or, you know, feed the body, but it exercises your mind because you're thinking, how can I put something together, right? You're kind of bringing stuff together, right? Very similar to how, you know, some of the live streams I've done in creation mode or combination mode, where I'm bringing stuff together, right? It exercises your mind in terms of doing something, right? Even to the point that organization can be a form of creating because you're creating a space for XYZ item, a resource or whatever, right? And maybe you decide to create, you know, you would go into the junk drawer and you're like, you know what? I'm not liking how this is flowing for me. So you decide to create a system for set items, whatever it is. Knives, utensils, maybe it's power cables, for example. You're creating a system for it, right? And in this case, creating the system of organization, whatever it is, right? It could, I mean, I've seen videos on people doing cables, power management, USB cables, power cables. It could be your food pantry, food items, your fridge, your freezer, for example. I'm pointing at them, but you can't see me pointing at them because I'm actually in the kitchen right now. But stuff like that, right? And like I said, it makes the space work better for you, and that creating of the system itself in terms of for these examples, makes you feel better too because you don't have to find things don't get lost, you're not spending the next 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes trying to find something. Where did I put this thing? I don't know, I just had it. And you're like, maybe I should create a system for it or a home for it so I don't misplace it anymore. Whatever it is, right? I mean, for example, I just created a little thing for some rechargeable batteries that I've been recharging. Very simple system of organizing it, just a couple boxes, right? But I mean, that's a form of creating in itself. Let's see my side chat once again. Cool, BK. Awesome. I'm not trying to re-highlight that. Go on here. Hey, it's Baba. Shalom. How are you doing? Good, Howie. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, creating is one of these things. To be honest, I guess, especially for me here on this channel and for what I do and all this other stuff, the subcategories or subsections that I do of things, creating is like a pillar for this channel. I mean, creating for me, there's something about it. I mean, especially for me personally, it allows my mind, brain, hands to do something, but also explore ideas, use the resources more effectively. Quote unquote, improve my situation or improve my stance, right? I mean, even when I go, let's say, camping or whatever, for example, right? And the last few times I've gone camping, creating it is one of those things that I want to do. Like, I'll be like, okay, okay, you set up a tent, put the fly on, you put a tarp on, right? But one of the things I start to do is like, I'm trying to find something to use or create a mallet for, so I can, hammer in some pegs, right? Maybe depending how much time I have, right? I make one of those kind of bushcrafty type of mallet from a piece of wood, for example, right? Especially if I have access or have brought or have access to tools like a saw, cutting tools and stuff like that, right? I probably wouldn't make it as elaborate as I've shown in the past, but just something to create a tool to help me do tasks like putting in pegs and stuff like that, right? That helps later on, right? And then, if I'm more adventurous, or maybe I'll solar engrave it too. If it's sunny out, I'll be like, don't burn me, or put in fire, or whatever, right? Depending what I have on me. And, of course, it's got to be sunny out for something like that, I've shown the solar engraving stuff too, So another thing that creating has shown me is that there's potential out there for said items, right? I always look at stuff kind of, that metaphoric outside the box thinking, or in my case, thinking outside the box that's outside that box, that's outside the room, that's outside the building, kind of type of thinking, right? And how can I, what's the word I'm looking for, alter or change said resource in such a way? And usually it'll involve some form of creating of something, regardless if it's with metal, with power tools, or grinder, or whatever, or wood, with a saw and a cutting tool, or something like that. I mean, and you're looking at the resources as potential resources, right? Not as quote unquote, it's junk or that's trash, right? I'm looking at it like, can I reuse this and create something with it? Bring it back into a useful state, like I've said, and circulate that said resource back into the system and make it useful again. Something that perhaps I'm creating something. For example, here I've actually, well, I can't really show it because I have something on top of it right now. But I was actually helping this person, quote unquote, move and organize and sort through a garage because they were moving away, right? You know. And one of these things, they had like this cupboard, dresser, desk, or whatever you want to call it. There was doors on them, right, with hinges and stuff like that. And they didn't want it, and probably I don't think they wanted to take it to a thrift shop, and they didn't want to sell it, but it had to be dismantled just for the sake of space wise, right? You know, and reduce it from its three-dimensional kind of shape to, you know, something a little bit more compact for transporting away, right? You know, removal, right? While I was doing that, I was just like, wait a second, there's 3 doors right here. I got screws here from these. I got hinges too. I didn't use the hinges, but one of the things I did was I took these 3 doors back from these quote unquote cabinets, right? And they were wide enough, let's say at least half an inch, maybe, you know, at least over a centimeter, you know, probably 1.5 centimeters wide. I had 3 of them, and instead of doing other things like, you know, burning it for firewood or you know, putting it underneath something, I decided to I decided to create something with it instead and reuse that resource. And basically, with help from like power tools, pile holes, and stuff like that, and a couple screws and all that stuff, I put that stuff together and I made a shelf. So 2 walls and a platform at the top. So for me, you know, they're like, oh, CR, how can I ever repay you or whatever, compensate you or whatever for helping you? I'm like, you know, this, you know, if you would pass me those shelves, can I have these shelves? It would help. See what I did there? See what I did there? See what I did there? Yes. You know, it's just one of these things that I was just like, you know, I've never tried this before, right? Because I saw an opportunity for it, and I was just thinking to myself and basically, in a nutshell, you know, I made this kind of shelf with two walls, a little bit of a backing material that I found later on or whatever, right? Some triangles in the back, right, to reinforce the corners on the back side, right? Because obviously it's just, you know, like an upside down U, for example, right? So I needed a little bit more triangles for support, you know, to reinforce the structure itself, right? But I was just like, I created that. Well, you know, put it together, I made it, put the resources together, all right? And now it fits underneath some table I have stuff on the top, stuff underneath, right? So I created a shelf that can help me organize gear, which in turn, the gear is more organized, which in turn means that I can find, use, pull, put back said gear more effectively, just because the space that I have this in is actually more, how do I say, user friendly, right? You know, and stuff like that. There was this little space on the side. I fit like something similar to a binder on the side. It's actually not technically a binder, but very close to some other things I had. I was just like, hello, Iron Fire Horse. Here you are. And see, you got my memo here. I'm actually done. It almost feels like I'm lagging a little here with this playing. So I'm just stop that after. I'll stop the loop of it. But I'll bring my icon back on the screen here right about now, just so I can see it. I mean, it's just something I did real quick. I mean, I don't know if I can pull it out. Stuff in the way and amongst some other things, but yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool because, you know, I didn't really, per se, quote unquote, plan it really in depth, right? But the things I wanted to put underneath the said shelf, the space underneath the wall, underneath the platform, between the walls, it just happened to fit inside perfectly. I was, or at least there was enough clearance, right? I was just like, you know, it brought me so much joy because, you know, that feeling when you put something together, it fits, and when you put it inside, just almost perfectly fits. You know, it's almost like that stuff was meant to come together in the first place, right? It was always, you know, it's destiny or it's fate, right? Or in my example here, you know, I changed the fate of those said items, right? They didn't get burned or landfilled. They got brought back into a useful state. You know, and I had something on the platform underneath it and all that stuff. I added some organizational features, some sub-organization things in just to sub-organize the space itself, right? But it's been helping me, that's for sure. Hey, it's Huga. Hi, Huga. Hi, CB. Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. Even moving stuff around, you're creating space. You're creating more open space, quote unquote, white space, you know, clear space, and seeing what you have, right? You're creating a more insert words type of space, which I can't figure out right now. All right, I'm back on my chat here. You like an organized space too, Hugo? Yeah, it's the one. I mean, like, generally speaking, I mean, like, honestly, there's some places, some areas that we probably, overall, all of us could organize a little bit better, but, you know, it does help. It does help overall. And while you're doing that, you know, you're creating a better environment overall, for not just for the resources, the items, the gear, or whatever, but it also creates, to a certain degree, well, I mean, you have to allocate that time to creating it in the first place, but it feels like, in my opinion, it creates time later because you don't have to spend 20 minutes trying to find something, spend an extra 5 seconds because it's buried at the bottom of the bin. You reorganized it in some way or fashion, whatever works, whatever helps, right? If you're saving time, you can access it quickly. You can deploy it quickly, have access to it quickly, put it back relatively easily or quickly too. To me, that's a win. Because you're creating that space to be more effective for said items, whatever it is. I mean, it could be seeds, it could be food, it could be water, it could be, I don't know, some of the hardware out there, right? The gamers out there, if they get those hard copy games or whatever, right? Maybe maybe you can get some access to some shelves or whatever, and you just kind of and some scrap wood, and you create an organizer for something that's kind of tailored or customized to what you want to put on it, or in it, or above it, or below it, or beside it, and stuff like that. All right. I see iron flowers. I gotcha. Don't get me started on with the label maker. I was gonna highlight this or label this, but you started that first. So. Just kidding. Just kidding, CB. But yeah, I mean, to me, creating, like I said, in my opinion, and for me personally, it brings me some sort of joy. Maybe some endorphins or whatever I get released in my head or whatever. Right? I take so much. I wouldn't use the word pride in it, but it brings a smile to my face. Brings a smile to my face. So when I hear other people are creating something or something very similar, I'm like, ooh, what is it, right? It actually gets me excited, right? It almost, at that, depending what's going on or whatever, it almost gets me excited, like, or motivates me to want to do it, or take on a new project or do something, whatever it is. Maybe it's creating a new organized space for clothes, gear, in a bag, in a backpack, or whatever, right? Hell, even putting together some sort of bag, a kit, or whatever, with whatever it is, or whatever contents, gears, and so is a form of creating too, right? And obviously, creating the videos is a form of creating too. What's up, Sammy? I see you in there. Hey, Sammy, you know what? I got that gator that you sent me. I got it on right now. It's around my neck right now. The one that kind of has the fall colors. I seem to wear it more in the autumn, fall, winter period of time. And, because you're here too, Sammy, it motivated me to actually create my own version of it too. For anyone that hasn't seen the DIY buff that I made from a shirt, right? Yeah, obviously I didn't create the fabric, but I brought the material and recreated something via the fabric, right? And not only that, for anyone that hasn't seen the video, right? I even made a little pouch for it too, with said shirt. So, sometimes I see other things, I'm like, I'm kind of mimicking them, right? I'm like, maybe I should try to create that from scratch, or relatively from scratch, right? Obviously, I didn't create the fabric from scratch, right? I didn't weave it and all that stuff, but, step by step, right? I made a little bit of progress in understanding it by actually doing it and experiencing it and gaining the skill and the knowledge behind, let's say, the sewing project of it, right? Where I'm just like, you know what? Because I had this idea. I'm like, you know what? I think this could work, right? I mean, sometimes I'll debate on doing it or not, but other times I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it, right? I'll take the time during the nighttime or afternoon. I'll be like, I'm gonna do this right now, right? No, generally the sewing for me and the mending usually comes in the fall and winter time, just because I have more time. And usually I need to mend or sew something because usually I'm doing it in terms of clothing. So, yes. Yes. No joke. No joke. I don't know. No joke, Sammy. Let me just change my. Gotta make sure what I'm showing here. Some things I don't want to show, but let's see. Oh, why not? Like I said, I have it on. Settings. I mean, let me just show this here real quick here. Well, okay, so it's inside out, but whatever, great. Yeah, I got it on. So yes, I do have it. Like you said, Sammy. It's on me right now. Because now, I mean, not just because you sent it to me or whatever, but as I learned more about it, I'm like, I started to grow into liking the gators and neck eaters or buffs a lot more. A lot more now. You know, I think I just had to experience it for myself and understand why I'm like, there's a lot of benefits to it. Not in just the way I was wearing it for whatever reason, but I think it also allowed me to, well, go away from another CR word, scarves. See, I've mentioned this to some other people before. One of the things I didn't like about scarves is that it can get caught on jackets, zippers, and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, they keep you warm or whatever, right? But I think I graduated, gravitated towards a buff because I don't have that issue of getting it caught in a zipper. It's smaller, multi-purpose, especially a buff like this, because I can put it over my head too, not just around my neck or whatever, right? And it can still have very similar benefits of keeping my face warm, my neck warm in the wintertime. Because obviously I live here in Canada. It's just an eventuality that it's gonna snow or get cold. It's just an eventuality. I mean, it's nice and warm today, but I realize this is, it's not always gonna be like this. It's an eventuality to me. Yes. That's coming up soon, isn't it? It's this weekend, isn't it? I know it's this weekend. I'm trying to remember now. Don't quote me on it. I know that I mentioned it, but I know it's this weekend. I know it's this weekend. But anyways, like I said, coming back to this kind of dealing with cabin fever, right? This is one of the things I did. I mean, don't get me wrong, during the 2020 year, right? I did some other things too, don't get me wrong, But creating one was one of those things that allowed me to keep going, right? Because, let's face it, for the most part, most of us, maybe not all of us, we visited less people. We didn't interact with people as much. We didn't go to places as much. For the most part, But creating, for example, like sewing or whatever, allowed me to pass by the time, right? And those interactions with people via live streaming or side chat or via voice chats, instant messaging, and the occasional person that I may have seen during that time, face to face or whatever, right? Or in person, it helped, right? It helped my own morale because, it helped me, well, deal with the situation at that time, right? Because unfortunately, some people, it was a little bit more rough, let's just say, for some people. And some people had it really rough at that time, right? So I was very thankful that I had some interaction, maybe even with some of you out there that are watching or listening to me right now. But and some of the people I know in the real world, right? I managed to see some people and stuff like that, But this creation part of doing stuff, right? It really got me through the days, the days, the weeks, and time period, right? To the point now, in the wintertime, it's like, when fall, let's say November, October rolls around, I'm like, I look forward to the sewing projects a little bit more. Like, sometimes I'll have this idea for a sewing project or whatever, but it's like April. I just delayed it until like this time of year, fall, winter, right? Because I'll have a little bit more time. Obviously, I won't be gardening, so I'll be inside or whatever. I might not be going outside for a walk all the time because it's either too cold or I'm not into it right now, or it's really snowy, or I gotta do other things, or I gotta watch a live stream, or I gotta watch a video later, or someone's streaming later, and I need to be home so I can watch it to, you know, reconnect with him and, you know, encourage the content creators out there. Well, something like sewing helps too, right? And there's something about sewing that's so awesome, it seems. You see where I went there? You see how I weaved in that those 2 puns right there? Well, three. Okay, anyways. A second star. I'm sorry. I apologize. I do want to say this, and I said this on my last stream. I apologize for people that I do follow that are doing a live stream, and I'm doing a live stream at the same time. I'm just saying it happens. I know you guys and gals will say something or whatever, but I just want to say that. I mean, sometimes if you have time, you have time, right? Sometimes this is the only time, so sometimes that's just the way it is. Oh, you picked up some zip bro, so good. Nice. Oh, and some buns too. Wow. Nice. I mean, I know I've shown this. Actually, I have it hanging right here. Okay. Sorry, it's kind of sunny here. Technically, I should have on the last stream, right? Maybe flip my camera back around. Oh, yeah, there's a button right here. Oh yeah, this is something I made from scraps. I guess that, yeah, it's got a CR in it. I created from scraps, yeah. To me, I enjoyed this. I mean, it took a little bit to make it. Now, this is also, I didn't create the fabric or whatever, but this is, for me, when I was creating this, because I don't have my tripod out. I'm holding the phone, but when I was creating things, right, it brought, in my opinion, my personal experience of doing this, it brought me so much joy because on multiple reasons, not just to create a video or demonstrate it or showcase it, but I got a chance to, for anyone that doesn't know, because if you see back on the original video that I shot back in February, well, actually I shot it in February, but I think I posted it in like March, early April. But basically, in a nutshell, it was something that was currently at that time in a useless state because it was actually ripped, and I brought it back into useful state, like it was always meant to be. And have I created something like this before? Yeah, sort of before, but have I actually done something very, pulled from the environment, off the landscape, off the ground? Actually, it was on the snow, actually, technically, something, and I brought it home, and I recreated something with it, something useful. Even the bun that you saw on it, I should say, even that I found. Well, I shouldn't say create, but more like brought it together like it was always meant to be. And now it's back in a useful state. And like I said, it helped me on so many levels because I'm practicing the sewing techniques, back stitching, putting a button on a piece of material, right? So, very similar to if you had to replace a button on a jacket or pants or shirt or whatever, right? And and I customized it to how I wanted to, right? It can fit things that I can put inside of it. Like in the video I showed, actually it fits the phone that I'm using right now. Actually, it can actually probably fit a tablet too, for example, depending what it is, right? And it's got a handle on it, so you know, I felt like I can handle it. Yes, I did, and yes, I just said that. Yes, creating with CR in it, exactly, Sammy, straight up. I mean, I learned so much from this, right? I'm just and like I said, I even reused the trim to make the trim for it. I reused it, and stuff like that. I was just and I showed people very similar things, right? And they're like, "What? You created this, right?" And the thing is, I didn't even use a sewing machine, hand stitch. Obviously, it takes longer. Don't get me wrong, hand sewing does take longer, obviously, but I was practicing like the back stitching and all that stuff, lining stuff up. I mean, it's not. There's certain sections or whatever there's slight imperfections in my opinion, anyways. But overall, it functions the way I kind of daydream. No, wait. What am I saying daydreaming? Because this is the name of the background noise, music that's playing. That I'm using the StreamYard here, but what was in my mind, I was just like, there's something about seeing something in your mind and being able to physically make it, develop it, create it in the real world. There's something about that where from said idea to it functions. It's here. Maybe it's more than a prototype. There's something about that. There's something about that with me, just like that really brings me joy because I think it's because, like I said, you're from like an idea in your mind, on paper, whatever, into the real world, right? There's something about that. There's just something about that for me that really brings me joy. Yeah, you too. You love making stuff other stuff, yeah, especially with your insulated floor. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. You just had to buy insulation and piano hinges. The rest was okay. Reclaim stuff. Okay, cool. I hope that if it didn't already, brought you a lot of joy, right? Not just in terms of the functionality of said gear or whatever, right? Like this bag that I have literally in my hand right now beside me, but just knowing that, wow, I actually pulled this together, created this or brought this together, almost like it was always meant to be, right? And obviously, things like the experience of it, I shouldn't say time saving, but the reusing parts of it, maybe saving money. I say maybe, right? Depending what it is, right? The experience of it and knowing that, this could work. To look, it can work. It does function. It's useful too, right? Because also you're making it in terms of insulation hinges or whatever, right? Maybe a flooring or something to lay on, sit on, stand on, or whatever. I mean, like this little. Well, it's not a three-dimensional bag like one of those reusable tote bags, but I could be using this, right? And I did actually use this to bring something over to someone's place, right? And I showed them. I'm like, oh yeah, I made this from scraps, right? They're like, CR, you made this? Oh, you made this? Yeah. This used to be a tote bag. I just saw the hidden potential in that resource a lot more versus, that other mindset. Let's just say it's like, it's just garbage, trash, right? Not everything. Or garbage. Of course, I can't reuse everything either. So it goes hand in hand, right? I mean, I'm optimistic about the resources, but I'm also realist about the resources, right? Some things I just can't reuse yet. recreate something with it yet, right? Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to think of something or an idea that just comes to mind. Maybe it's from hearing other people out or seeing something, and I'm mimicking it. I went, wait a second, why don't I try this out? As an idea. See if I can actually create something with this after all, right? Reuse the resource, bring it back into a useful state from its currently useless state, because it's in a bin and rubbish, trash, garbage, whatever you want to call it, bin. I have an international audience, not just here in Canada, the US, here on the North American continent, but here, quote unquote, people from Europe. Also have someone here in Australia right now, so I'll say the terms too, rubbish, right? Right. Now, if I start using that other word for sandals then maybe I'm crossing the line just a tad. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah. Especially Iron Fire Horse if it functions really well too, right? Especially, right. Also, in terms of creating something, it's still gotta function well. Yeah, you didn't even use power tools? Wow. You just use hand tools, hand saw, and a screwdriver. And it's just like me here with this. Let's bring it back into. It's really sunny here. Sorry, I have the window open, but I did this with just hand sewing, alright? Some thread that I had, reclaimed thread that I got from something else, reclaimed material, reusing a button I found on the road. Like literally on one of my walks, I was just like, I found the button, right? Because I kept the loop that was kind of there initially. It just happened to be in the middle of the bag. I was just like, and I found a button for it, right? Because I was gonna use a button I had here, but I found one. I'm like, yes, perfect, all right. I can make use of this button perfectly, and it just seemed to work. It just seemed to work for it quite nicely. Oh, okay, Iron Power. So okay. Yes, something I haven't said in a long time. Creating up to 98.6% of the time. And people are like, you sleep for 1.4% of the time? No. The 98.6% of the time is not an actual how much time I do it. It's supposed to represent 98.6 Fahrenheit, which is body temperature. So that's what it's supposed to represent. It just sounded better than saying 37% of the time if I use Celsius, right? So it was better if I said 98.6. I gotta plug in my phone. I'm plugging my phone for the last however long. I went down on the battery real fast, and I'm showing video and transmitting using Wi-Fi and all that stuff in my screen time. Look who it is! It's preparedness veteran. Get the words out of your mouth, Sia. Preparedness veteran. What's up, PV? How are you doing, my friend? Nice to see you here, and welcome everyone to this. Randomly, I'm talking about creating without actual, and I'm going away. This is less technical, so it's not a content creator's type of stream like I did the previous stream, which was more technical about the editing aspects of it. I mean, I could dive into it if anyone wants to, but this is more of like that kind of the idea, the concept, right? Why I do it, the reasons I do it, right? Why do it at all, right? And I understand, people out there, right? Skill level and all that stuff, or don't know how to sew or whatever, right? Or do certain things like woodworking, carpentry, etc., along the lines of that. Don't like organizing, don't like cleaning, don't like cooking, don't like. All right, I get that, right? But yeah, you can just go buy it. Don't get me wrong. I probably could buy maybe even something similar to this bag that I showed. This little bag that I remade with scrap materials, right? but there's something like, but sometimes when you're buying something, you can't get it customized. You're getting a generic type of thing, that's mass produced, whatever, a bag or whatever, right? And maybe it is better quality. Maybe the sticking's even better, or the material's better, right? But sometimes you don't get that customization that you would like in terms of like compartments, bags, and stuff like that to fit said thing that you want to put in there, right? If I wanted, I probably could have bought a bag, spend some cash, spend some dough, debit, whatever, and bought a bag to fit a phone in, a tablet in, for example, because these are the things that fit in here, right? But also, I would have had to spend the money. I wouldn't have learned anything from it because obviously I just bought it, right? I didn't make it myself, right? So I wouldn't have learned or gained the experience from it and stuff like that. So, you know, not shaming anyone buying something, okay, or buying a bag or whatever, not putting it together yourself or making it yourself. I'm not shaming anyone because they don't do that. But what I am saying is there is positive aspects of the creating, or for me anyways, in creation mode. The experience of it. You utilizing, applying the skills and practicing these skills such as sewing, for example, right? I mean, you could be cooking too. I'm trying not to actually talk about the cooking aspects of creating with food, because I swear it's not making me hungry. It's not. I'm gonna start to crave with cereal in it, and for everyone that doesn't know, yeah, I don't even need to explain that. You guys know that. I know you guys all know that because I mention it on your streams or videos all the time. No, I don't. Well, you know what? Sometimes I have ideas that pop into my mind. Sometimes. Or I'm thinking of something, all right? Just kind of, almost like a thought experiment, like Albert Einstein would do this thought experiment. I'm mentally thinking of putting things together, right? Now, obviously, in the real world, it takes more time, and there's things like differences and nuances that I have to consider. But sometimes I'm mentally thinking about it. So it's like, how can I put this together, right? Would this fit in there? And just kind of visualizing it to a certain degree. Says the person with unlimited cash. Yeah. Okay, let me see what it said here. And it had anything stuff in his hall that he was reused and recycled. Yeah, okay. Reclaimed. Upcycled. Well, that's also known as recycling, by the way. Because people are doing. Yeah, I get. Yeah, I get that. Copper has a fairly high resale value. That's why scrappers out there tend to gravitate to it. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I get that, Huga. Alright, take care, Sammy. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, exactly, right? Because it had to be custom done. Just because the contours of said area or whatever, right? Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Iron Player Horse, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, Huga! Really? For real? For real, Huga? See how she had to bring that up? I just got derailed. I just had a squirrel moment because I'm thinking about food. I'm craving food with a C already. Diffusing tension with humor. or in this case, food. Oops, didn't mean to click on that. Well, it's not just that, Hugo. There's a sense of pride that comes along with creating something too, right? Being able to put something together, right? I mean, I think, and I'll bring back to this kind of Stone Age, medieval age type of metaphor, situation, history, or whatever, right? It was a necessity to create something. Hence, I mean, I'm no historian or anything like that. I've seen documentaries and all that stuff, right? But I'm pretty sure it was out of necessity first, and there was a need for something to function, right? Obviously from wood, from the plants, from the natural world, but they probably went to stones, right? And someone had to learn to create, well, the art of flint knapping, right? And also the lost art now because we get, obviously that probably went down. That knowledge, well, barely survived the course of history now. If you think about it, barely anyone knows how to do it, let alone practices it or does it regularly enough, right? I mean, because also there's things called metal, copper. Well, yeah, see, that was a nice segue there. Who said about the copper, right? The Copper Age, obviously the Bronze Age, Iron Age, and all that stuff, right? Metals dominated it over time, right? And that knowledge, knowledge, skill, and experience of putting up, it kind of faded away. Because I wouldn't say obsolete, but it faded away in history to a certain degree. But coming back to that functionality part of it, right? Someone learned to create it, learn that aspect of it, or even more on a primitive scale. Yeah, this works for some reason. They found out that this was better than said something else, right? Obviously, and we, because of that, we did more with it. All right, someone discovered, what? I can create something from this stone over here for some reason, and very simplistically, melt it together, melt something, form something, and create something from this, and kind of convert it with a CR in it. Yeah, see, I like that word too. Into something useful, right? From something that's on the ground, not very useful in its current state, because obviously it's quote unquote ore or whatever, right? ORE, right? Into something useful, and someone, discovered and created bronze, right? Understood that, just figured it out, right? And created that, and obviously that knowledge has been passed down through history. And obviously, iron, steel, people figured out, right? I add in some carbon into some iron to a certain, percentage wise, I can get a material that's quote unquote better than the original material, Hence, now we modern day steel, and all that other stuff that came from it, right? From like up a hill, natural airflow, bellows to obviously nowadays you got blast furnaces and all that stuff to make steel, right? And on the industrial setting, right? Mass production and stuff like that. You guys are typing so much that I feel like I gotta put swivel on. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Huga, I'm a little bit more with artsy, and I'm not saying I never took arts class, but I appreciate it to a certain degree, in my opinion. For me, anyways. Yeah, that too, Iron Forest. People with skills, but not the resources to use for it. Yeah. Yes, it is amazing how we have evolved over time. There is very few dudes that I can actually manufacture. Whoa! have to read that again. Come on, PB, you're exaggerating, right? You've already made something today. Coffee, tea, a brew. Yeah. Technically, that is a form of creating, but Okay, Hugo. Creative stoneware, you like it? Hi, Sandy. And Iron Fire Horse is laughing about something I said. Or mentioned, or whatever. Yeah. But like I said, creating is one of these things that, something, like I said, I don't re-harp this and say it all the time because really that's the main message of this stream slash replay slash video. And if you're watching this on the replay, you want to timestamp this specific spot, I'll know. Because it's like just over an hour, 66 minutes in for some reason. It just happens to be that time. An hour and 6 minutes. But, there's just something about it. I think this is one of the reasons why the channel has this as the name. I think I've explained this every so often about why I came up with this channel name in the first place, right? I mean, there's other things that I downstream things from the channel name and all that stuff that I slowly added in, like the CR in there, right? But creating was always making something, right? As a maker, right? Was always one of those things. Like sometimes I've met people or whatever, and it's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I make stuff." Oh, you're one of those makers, right? Yeah. I tell them, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like to create, right? I met, and they're like, "Oh, what have you made, or what did you make recently?" I say a few things. Maybe I have something on me that I created or whatever, right? That's something more than just putting the kit together, but took some hours or time to do, right? And they're like, "What? You made that?" Yeah, right. Dang. Some of this stuff. I remember one time, one of my relatives came by and I showed them this bag another bag I had. Now, unfortunately, I have to be honest here. One of the bags I've shown in the past, I don't have access to it because I forgot it at someone's place, and somehow they can't find it, or someone took it. So, but anyways, I digress from that. The idea is, even though it's gone now, I can recreate it again because I did it once. I know I can do it again, especially if I have the material. And honestly, the experience from making this other one helped me with this more current one that I just showed, this blue one that I had, all right? It was one of those things to explore, right? And also to make a video, but I showed them, all right? And they were so surprised that I did this by hand, right? And they didn't realize because, honestly, relatives, whatever, family members, they know you from childhood, early on and stuff like that, right? They're like, "See, I didn't think you had this in you. I didn't know, or whatever, right?" Because, the stereotypical view of, like, if you think about it, I'm not saying it's everywhere or whatever, right? Sewing tends to be a female thing at times, right? No, don't get me wrong. There's tailors out there, male tailors, male sewers out there. There is, obviously, I'm one of them, but they were just so surprised, right? They were just so surprised, right? Because they knew how I was early on, or the other things I like to do too, right? So they were like really surprised, right? Because if I looked in my family history or current generation or whatever, right? Most of my extended family, relatives, whatever, most of the people that sew in our family or whatever are female. I'm one of the rare exceptions for it. But they realize, it's like, oh, look at that, right? Like, and they're like, "Where did you learn this? Where did you learn this?" I'm like, I watched a few videos too, right? But I also said to them, in a native language or whatever. Like I just did it. I I saw some videos. I like absorbed that knowledge and I experienced it by actually doing it and practicing it for myself, right? You know, also I went from small scale to a larger scale, but now I feel like I'm recapturing. Yes, I just used that word, CR word. Something I did a long time ago. Because, like I said, I took sewing classes when I was much younger. That was for school related stuff, right? But it feels like, you know, the teacher I had, hopefully she'd be impressed with what I've sewn nowadays, right? You know, and being able to put together. Because to me, you know, in sewing class, you know, we had to do projects based on what the teacher wanted, and you know how that is, right? But I'm able to do projects or sewing things, mend things or whatever that I want to do now, all right? Things that I want to put together, whatever it is, pouch, whatever, right? Liner, whatever, right? So to me, it's something about that. So, Jax, you're painting some kitchen cabinets? Cool, cool. Taking a small break here, okay. You know, you guys bring both Preventive Mentor and Tex. You bring in the door handles and painting of cabinets. I took 3 cabinet doors and put it together and made a shelf out of them. Well, I shouldn't say recreated, but I converted it from that current state that it was in. I mentioned the story earlier in the stream, but basically, you know, it's just something I converted because it was destined for landfill. I know it was, but the thing is, the wood wasn't cracked. It wasn't even like really bad. It was sitting in a garage for a long period of time. Let's just say, so there was no mold or anything like that, right? Or mildew or anything like that. And it's still in good shape. I mean, I didn't even sand it or paint it. I just made a shelf, 2 walls, little parts for the backing, you know, to reinforce the backing, and a shelf on the top or a ceiling or roof on it, and that's it. And I've been using it for the last 3 years now. Yeah, 3 years. It's helped me out, especially on the organizational part. Feels like I'm missing some. Yeah, see, I'm something like that too. I more functional, less artsy. I mean, I can appreciate some things out there. Don't get me wrong, but I like functionality. Let me scroll. Oh, you got a heavy duty sewing machine, but we had only doing hand sewing since it's been quicker than getting it out and setting it. It depends what you're doing, iron farmers. I mean, some projects might be faster, right? I mean, honestly, this little pouch bag or whatever I made, honestly, would have been faster if I did it with a sewing machine with mechanical advantages like wheel or I mean, like even a treadle. I think that's the word. Treadle sewing machine would have been faster than hand sewing, right? And also, electrical powered sewing machine would be faster. However, there are certain times where you have to hand sew, like mending or whatever, just because the spacing is so tight. You're not gonna be able to fit it underneath the what's that called? I'm trying to remember that part of the sewing machine. The foot? No, not the foot, because the foot's at the bottom of the base of the sewing machine. I'm trying to remember. Hey, I'm a little rusty. I'm a little rusty on the terminology. I'm a little rusty on the terminology. But yeah, you get what I mean. Exactly, repurpose, yeah. So yeah, those are just, like I said, things that I've done anyway. Well, I get into bigger projects than if the resources are there and the time too, right? and I can fit in the time and the space too, right? Because some projects take room, right? Some projects, especially if you're doing something like painting, for example, right? You gotta set the time for it. It's gotta dry, and and all that stuff. You need the room, and all that stuff. And like some sort of renovation, you need time, obviously the resources, the money, and all the time, but the space for it, right? Because you're gonna move things around and stuff like that, right? I think sometimes creating at times you do need to allocate the time for it, the resources, not just the materials and the money, right? The finances for it, right? The insert word that I can't remember right now that's related to finances and money, but I can't think of it. Logistics of it, yeah, and all that stuff. Yeah, there we go. something like that, right? But you also space for it, right? Right. Allocate that time and space for it. Yeah. So that's important too. So some people, it can be daunting, right? I mean, generally speaking, I say generally speaking, right? For me, I generally enjoy the creation process of things, putting things together. Oh, by the way, everyone, for anyone listening or hearing this on the replay, shout out to the replay gang. Everyone watch me live right now. I got a video up for on this week. You're gonna see something put together, by the way. Short video. It's more like a slideshow, but I want great. It's almost like I planned this enough to say it, but we'll just say you'll see a CRA in that video. Trust me. It was funny. It was funny that I actually noticed that. I made sure you'll see it because it's like the first 2 seconds of that video. Like you're gonna notice it. I highlight that very clearly in that video. Can't really miss that, but let's just say that's a form of creating too, right? And that's another thing. Some people don't like to put stuff together because the time, the effort, or whatever, right? I don't want to read instructions or whatever, right? I say generally, don't mind putting things together, right? Stuff that has to be put together because, it comes sold separate, well, not sold separately, but yeah, some assembly is required, right? I mean, some of my friends or whatever, they call me up, hey, Sia, can you come over? Yeah, what's up? We need your help with something. Yeah, with what? Can you put this together? I'm like, what is it? And sometimes I've never actually put said item together. Sometimes I have previous experience with some things. Right? I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? Why not? Let's see if I can actually do this, right? Maybe I'll bring over some additional things to help me along, right? Maybe a ratchet screwdriver or whatever, just in case they don't have all the tools or whatever, just in case, right? But it's just one of the things I enjoy doing, right? There's something about putting something together, making something, creating something, especially if you're doing it hands-on, whatever, right? Regardless if it's in the real world, like furniture, cooking, gardening, or whatever, to a more virtual environment, like digital creating, like editing, or making a sweet intro. Here's a nice sweet intro. Here's a nice sweet shorts that I did, just like the last one I did. And I appreciate everyone that watched that last shorts I put up, because that is a segue and another reason why I create, to encourage people with a CRNA, right? Not just create something, right, to watch or whatever, to look at or whatever, but to encourage people out there with creating doesn't have to be with physical items or in a digital state, like editing. Sometimes creating can be creating, hope, raising morale, right? For anyone that hasn't seen that last shorts I put up, that is the reason why I did that. To create morale, raise spirits up a bit. That is the reasoning, alright? Literally, as I quote from what I Well, I was actually gonna say it in that video, but quoting the words I wrote, put in that video, in that shorts, motivating the people around. Right? That was the intention of it. All right. And yes, I popped it over on the Instagram side too, so people can check that out too. But also, we're here on the YouTube side. Let's see here. It almost feels like, did I lose this? Whoop. Did my phone freeze out? Like, yeah, okay. Sorry, I couldn't see my icon doing that echo, and not echo, that thing. I was like, I must have like froze a buffered in there. So I know I did. I know I did. But yeah, I read some comments that you guys just wrote. Mechanical advantage whenever possible. Yeah. Right. Try to work smarter than harder whenever possible. And besides, you can endure and sustain that a little bit better over time, right? You know? Stuff like that. It could be as simple as using, oh, I don't have a thimble CR to push the sewing needle that I have. Use a pair of pliers. You know, maybe you got a pair of pliers on your multi-tool or one hanging around, right? Doesn't necessarily be like needle nose. It just needs to help you out, right? Sometimes I use pliers when I'm sewing. Just because, I mean, sometimes I'm pushing through so much material, right? And you don't want to do that with your thumb without a thimble or anything, a mechanical advantage like pliers, for example. Guys, let's just say it'll be kind of pokey, kind of. Raises his hand up and concurs and agrees with it. And say, CR, why is your hand up? Because I'm agreeing with that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, people. I'm just kidding. You guys gonna make me start craving food here on my own stream. I really should eat before I attend live streams. I mean, do my own live stream because people want to bring it up. It's like, yeah, CR's on. Let's talk about food and make him hungry and crave food. Make him want to cook. But yeah. So I think I will. Let's see how much time here. I'll probably go for 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, folks out there, and kind of conclude this kind of live with CR talking about creating. I do appreciate you all joining me. Shout out to the replay gang. You know, if you're still following me at this time, right? Timestamp it and be like, yes, I heard it, CR. You said it right here. Insert time 1 hour and 24 minutes or so. Right? And like I said, go. Well, I didn't actually say it, but I'm saying it now. Go out and create something, right? You know, enjoy the process of it, right? And maybe there could be some issues, some hiccups, some problems, or whatever. So I gotta do it again. I made a mistake, right? But enjoy the process of it, right? The creation process. You know, learn from it, right? Because, you know, and yeah, there may be some work involved. Don't get me wrong, right? But when it's actually done, when the creation process is done on it, said project or whatever, right? Remember that feeling, that appreciate the feeling of accomplishment at the end of it. and strive or motivate yourself to go through the process so you can achieve that kind of sense of completion of the task, or project, whatever it is. Maybe you're putting together a shed, building something, sewing something, cooking something, growing something in a garden or whatever. Right? Enjoy the process of it too, or try to, anyways, right? Try to, I say, try to, right? But I realize that you're doing this all for that kind of quote unquote end game. Yeah, if I just said that, of that accomplishment at the end, right? So in terms of gardening, right, try to enjoy the creation process of like, oh, I gotta dig a hole, I gotta plant a seed, I gotta germinate it, I gotta add water, I gotta add fertilizer, synthetic or natural, I gotta baby it, I gotta prune it, right? But when you get that harvest, you taste that fruit off that plant or whatever it is. You see that flower that creates. Remember, that's what makes the creation process worth it in the first place, right? Being able to see that, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Yeah, I guess I could say that, right? Enjoy the fruits of your labor, because there's something about that, And when I say to people, maybe not everyone can do certain things. Not everyone can sew, not everyone can grow something or whatever, right? But you can do something. I know you folks out there can do something. Don't say can't. You can. You just haven't discovered it yet. Yes, I just realized I've used a lot of CR words in the stream. Because initially I was going to do a CR vocabulary thing, but this will cover it too. Is it CCs? All these CR words, they just keep reoccurring all the time now. I've been increasing my CR vocabulary a lot more, as you can tell. Yes, exactly, preparedness veteran, right? And make progress in it as much as possible, right? And see that, you can do something, It's like creating, quote unquote, the pepper pantry or whatever, right? Right? You can do it too. I mean, I've helped a few people every so often, right? With what they have and all that stuff, right? And hopefully they can maintain that system, right? But, I enjoy that part of it too, because, it allows me to try this out and maybe think of something outside the box kind of deal, and kind of get some different or new neural pathways in my brain. Wow, I just said that. I really should start quoting that. I wouldn't mind doing that. See what I did there? Yes, I just said that. Yeah. Take care of text. Take care, man. But yeah, I mean, go out and create something, whatever it is. Hopefully it's not trouble, I'm just saying. Hopefully it's not trouble, but hopefully it's something constructive. Yeah, never see a word I like too. Another word similar to creating or making, right? Do something constructive out there, right? Do something that brings you joy, especially if you're creating something, And then at times, it can be daunting, I get it, and hey, life can be daunting at times, right? But remember the joys of finishing the project, the joys of being with people, because that's what makes it worth it at the end. That's what makes putting that metaphoric saying that they say, blood, sweat, and tears in it. That's what makes it worth it, in my opinion. Because, and let that drive you, motivate you to keep going with it, to keep on creating, making something constructive, doing something, and be like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I can do this. not I will do this, or I don't want to do this, or I'm unable to do this, or I can't do this. Be like, you know what? I think start saying, I think I can, right? I think I can more, right? I'm not saying everything's gonna be possible. Obviously there's physical limitations, all that stuff, and other stuff like limitations like resources and finances and tools and all that stuff, right? I get that. Don't get me wrong, right? Right? It's kind of hard to fabricate a piece of metal when you don't actually have the tools. It's kind of hard. Just saying, right? With your bare hands, probably kind of hard. But if you can get access to it, you might be surprised. It's like, hey, you know what? This ain't so bad. I can do this too, whatever it is, right? Just because now you have the tools, the resources, or enough of the resources to do it, you realize, hey, this ain't so bad. CR was kind of right. This ain't so bad. If you got the resources or the tools, yeah, it is actually kind of enjoyable to discover what you can do, make, create, construct. Insert our words that mean creating and making. Yes, that was a mouthful right there. Yeah, exactly, Brenda's picture. Exactly, I agree with that too. I mean, you know, even regardless of the resources that you do use, regardless if it's with paper, cardboard, plastic, metals, a composite material, a mix of the material, regardless what you use to join stuff together, glue, screws, nails, coordinates, like paracord, to tie things together. It's not what you actually create that, in my opinion, see where I went there? See where I went? It's not what you create that's the important thing. It's that you're doing it, right? And enjoying the process of it, obviously enjoying the final product, the final project, the finished project, right? Enjoy those aspects of it, right? Like for me personally, I enjoy the creation process, right? Something maybe a little bit less, but generally speaking, I enjoy the creation process, right? Regardless of what it is, right? Regardless if it's through physical things like putting something physically together, with wood, plastics, metals, whatever, right? To editing, I enjoy the editing process too. Sometimes it could be kind of frustrating. Don't get me wrong, it can be frustrating at times, right? This is where you take a moment to reconsider things, take a break, walk away from the project for a moment, get fresh eyes on it and stuff like that. I get it in terms of like school essays and writing an essay or whatever. Yeah, that could be a little bit more, but when you complete it, you get back that grade that says A on it, B plus or whatever, right? Strive for that, right? Strive for that. Let that encourage you, motivate you to keep going with the process. Because if you can keep going on with the process, like I swear I feel like I'm going on, dragging the stream a little bit longer than I said I would, you might actually discover that, not only that you can do it, but, the process of doing it wasn't so bad after all. And it was worth the effort because now I can see the fruits of my labor. It was worth the blood, sweat, and tears of putting this in. It was worth going down and getting said resource. It was worth some of the money or investment I put into it. And I think with that, I will pause the audio soundtrack here. Pause that here. So you guys can hear me a little bit better at the end here. I appreciate everyone here, the followers I have here on the YouTube side. Anyone new, I appreciate you folks out there joining me in this stream / replay / static video later on and all that stuff, especially in 5 minutes because I'm in the stream right away here. I appreciate you all joining me, and sharing some thoughts and some things with me and your own things that you've done or whatever, right? And some of the stuff I didn't even actually know you did or knew about anyway, right? And some examples of things that you created and done and stuff like that. Because that always encourages me, in the same way that I try to encourage other people to create, seeing what you guys create motivates myself to like, you know what? I haven't tried it. I haven't tackled that project yet. Maybe I want to do that project now and take the time to do it now and because that motivation, right, of wanting to doing it. And not just because I'm saying I'm gonna do this XYZ project today because I just said it on this live stream and you just heard me say it. No, it's because that drive to want to do it, to created is there now. All right. So like always, everyone, like always, unless I'm missing some of this last minute comments, last second comments. Okay, I'll let you guys. Okay, exactly 2 minutes left on the stream. I will give you guys a moment to say something because I don't like to abruptly end it because I know some of my live chat, some of the side chat likes to say a few things because they're messaging each other, communicating with each other, talking with each other. Well, instant messaging with each other, texting, more like it. Because technically it's not really talking because no one's using voice except for me right now because everyone's hearing a voice. But yes, so there is some art videos I have later this month and beginning of next month. I gotta actually start working on some art videos, creating some more videos for next month. Yeah, and stop procrastinating that. When the CR words that I'm trying not to do as much. See where I went there? Yeah. Because even CR procrastinates to a certain degree, just the way it is, or delays the project, or delays things too much. All right. I am human after all. 98.6% of the time. 98.6, right? And so go out, do something awesome out there. And I think with that, I appreciate you all joining me for this venture on Fire Horse. I know text came by, BK, Bubba, Second Star Survival, Hookah Homestead. Appreciate you folks joining me this stream, and I think unless there's something else I wanna, unless there's something else. Oh yeah, and I can't forget Vanessa Kitty. Can't forget her. Can't forget Vanessa Kitty, who made an awesome stool, by the way. Yes. Oh, you're quite welcome, Iron Farmers. Right. All right. Hopefully, it will reoccur more often. Not the procrastination. I meant the encouragement, or converting, or creation part. Right. Hopefully, you won't. Hopefully, the procrastination won't reoccur more often. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. So everyone, go out there, because I think now I will say this, unless for some reason someone else is going to say something. Okay. Go out there, everyone. Go create something awesome out there. Because, things are changing out there. And we need to adapt to. And skill and knowledge can get better with practice. Go help someone if you can. Can't help everyone, but try to help someone if you can. And like that, hopefully that actually played because I didn't notice it because I turned my head. Take care, folks. Go create something awesome. Because you can do it too. Many people have been able to do things, create things, and you can too. You know, regardless what it is, cooking, crafting, editing, gardening, woodcrafting, metal work, fabrication, you know, it's possible for you to do it too. And with that, take care, folks. And I appreciate everyone dropping by on the stream. I'll catch you all later. And now is the time to say goodbye. Take care, everyone. See ya. And with that, I end the stream right now.